is the hottest 3-point shooter going into the 2020 NBA playoffs? For this, we're going to start with the playoff bracket, and each team is gonna nominate its best 3-point shooter. So the LA Lakers are gonna send out LeBron James. Yeah, really. He's the best 3-point shooter on the LA Lakers team. He has the most made 3-point shots. The Portland Trail Blazers send one of the hottest guys right now, Damian Lillard, coming off 50-point performances. The Oklahoma City Thunder send Danilo Gallinari, an over 40% volume shooter. The Houston Rockets send James Harden. Not only the most made 3-pointers, but an insane amount of 3-point shots taken, 834. The Denver Nuggets send Michael Porter. He is pretty much dwarfed by the other guys. He only has 62 made 3-point shots. The Utah Jazz sent Australian small forward Joe Ingles. He shot exactly 40%. The LA Clippers sent Paul George, who is having a really good season with the Clippers. And the Dallas Mavericks? Luka Doncic, of course, right? Well, technically, Tim Hardaway Jr. has more made 3-pointers, and Steph Curry has one of the best 3-point percentages of the whole league. Luka Doncic has the most 3-point attempts on the Dallas Mavericks team, though, but he has a horrible 3-point percentage, so we were gonna see how good is he right now. So let's start with our first matchup. LeBron James against Damian Lillard. When it comes to determining who's the hottest shooter right now, I'm gonna look at the performance that the player had in the bubble play in July and August. LeBron shot a pretty underwhelming 13 of 39. Damian Lillard, on the other hand, has an insane 36 of 87, which clearly crushes LeBron James. We have a round 1 upset. LeBron James is out. Damian Lillard advances to the next round. Harden vs Gallinari. They have similar percentage record, 13 to 35 against 24 to 65. I looked at the catch and shoot percentage. James Harden, 8 of his shots were catch and shoot, and he made 7 of it. And that's why he advances to the second round. Michael Porter versus Joe Ingles. Again, like really close records here. 19 to 45 against 17 of 40. Almost same percentage, almost same amount of makes. Since they both have really high percentages, the more makes increase the impressiveness of the record by a lot. And that's why Michael Porter advances and Joe Ingles is out. Paul George versus Luka Doncic is a more clear case. Luka Doncic, what was I telling you about his 3-point percentage? Close to 30%. He shot even worse in the bubble. He shot under 30%, 14 of 48. While Paul George has a really good performance with 24 of 48. So a clear advance for Paul George the next round. And that concludes the first round. Now for the Western Conference semifinals. We got Damian Lillard versus James Harden. Damian Lillard with the insane performance of 36 of 87, shooting 42%, versus James Harden's 24 of 65. Damian Lillard has more made threes and a higher percentage. A clear advance over James Harden. When it comes to the other semifinal, it's Michael Porter versus Paul George, 19 to 45 against 24 of 48. Paul George has more makes and a higher percentage than Michael Porter. The advance here is clear for Paul George. He just had a really good performance and faces Damian Lillard in the Western Conference Final. Now for the Western Conference Final, we have 2 insane performances. Damian Lillard with a 36 of 87, while Paul George has 50% with 24 makes. So which one is more impressive? Let's look at the likelihood that this is just a lucky run for one of them. Ultimately, it's about 3-point percentage. Just that a lot more makes increases the chance that it's not just a lucky run. So Damian Lillard shooting 42%, but a lot more makes versus Paul George with the 50%. And the Paul George performance is statistically just more impressive than the Damian Lillard performance. That's what a 3-point shooter has to do. He has to shoot a high percentage. That's what Paul George did, and that's why he won the Western Conference. Let's have a look at the Eastern Conference. Best team of the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks, sent their best 3-point shooter into the race, and that's Chris Middleton. He has a reasonable record of 145 to 347 made shots. The Orlando Magic sent Evan Fournier. The Miami Heat sent maybe one of the best 3-point shooter over the last season, Duncan Robinson. Not only does he have 264 made 3-pointers, he also didn't take 800 like James Harden. He only took 587 and has one of the best 3-point percentages of the whole league. The Indiana Pacers, famous for 3-point legends like Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin, sent Doug McDermott, legend in the making. The Boston Celtics sent Jason Tatum, the winner of the 2019 Skill Challenge. The Philadelphia 76ers sent Furkan Korkmaz. And the Toronto Raptors sent Kyle Lowry. Not even his best season. The Brooklyn Nets sent Joe Harris. Now on to the first round matchups of the Eastern Conference. Chris Middleton versus Evan F. Chris with a solid 40% performance, while Evan did not have the best bubble, Luka style. Evan out, Chris advances. And how did the best shooter of the season do in the bubble? He kept being awesome, keeping his 45%. While Doug McDermott shot bricks all of August. So a clear duel here as well. Jason Tatum versus Furkan Korkmaz. Now those two had both really good performances. Both shot close to 45%. Jason shot more while having the same percentage, and both had similar whole season records. So Jason Tatum advances, Furkan is out. For the last round 1 matchup, it's Kyle Lowry versus Joe Harris. Kyle Lowry didn't had a good bubble, and Joe Harris, I had to recheck if that statistic is correct. It's over 50% as well, shooting 19 out of 33 for 57.6%. Now for the Eastern Conference semifinal, it's Chris Middleton versus Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson once again outclasses his opponent with twice as much 3 points made than Chris Middleton, while having a greater percentage than him as well. So our first Eastern Conference finalist is Duncan Robinson. In the other semi-conference final, Jason Tatum's really good performance of almost 45% is just not good enough against the 57% of Joe Harris, even though he did make 3 more shots. Joe Harris crushes his opponents. But now he faces Duncan Robinson in the conference final, who did the same to his opponents. We have 2 insane performances. Duncan Robinson with 27 out of 60, almost 50% and 60 shots taken. While Joe Harris has a lot less shots, but he's well above 50%. So which one of those performances is statistically more impressive? The 27 of 60 run has a 16% chance of just being a hot run of an average good shooter, while the 19 out of 33 actually only has a 1.7% chance of being a hot run. Harris has just too much of a percentage. Duncan is out. Harris advances to the 3-point finals. Western Conference, Paul George, 24-48 versus Joe Harris, 19 of 33. Paul George shooting 50% with a slightly more shots, but Joe Harris crushing it, 19 of 33, 57%, while shooting almost as much as Paul George. So Joe Harris is the hottest 3-point shooter in the whole league at the moment. Watch out for him during the playoffs. Brooklyn Nets, maybe for the championship. I'm very excited about the playoffs this year, and I probably will make more of those videos. See you there.